Who has received who has received profit share already? Some profit share. Okay, a little.
Tama.
That's okay, Tim.
It
Good.
was like a little bit.
Awesome. Well, that's
I
great.
have.
Good. Congrats to everybody who has. It's awesome. Who wants to get more?
Or who wants to get some? Who hasn't gotten any but
Yeah.
wants to get started?
Great. So
Nice, Chelsea.
good job. So I think first, like Dan said, first we want to look to see how this can be structured, and we're literally opening it up to you guys too. How we could go, do this in the most efficient way. I'll be honest with you. The Stanford Market Center had a profit share club that we started and stopped. I think Glenn Schwartz was part of that for a while. We started and stopped.
I was in it
Fell apart,
back in the day.
Dan, I'm going to take all the blame. Donna, I'm going to take all the blame for that.
You were terrible, Steve. You were terrible.
Yeah, no, it started to get off the ground and then it just fell flat only because we're all so busy, right? So what this requires is time blocking. Just with as with anything else, guys, if you really want to be real about profit share, it requires time blocking, and you just have to make it part of your day, part of your world. So that's where we want to step in and help you do that. So again, we all know, well, first of all, let me ask, who here doesn't understand how profit share is generated? And it's okay if you don't. Most people, all right, Robert, fine. So profit share is generated when you refer somebody into the company and they join Keller Williams. And the key word there is refer. We'll get back to that in a minute. You refer somebody into the company and they join. Keller Williams does a calculation every month because every franchise is required to close their books every month, right? And we do that. And then KW does a calculation for every transaction. So if you refer somebody in and they joined and they had a closing in a certain month, Keller Williams does a calculation. What is that transaction contributing to the total revenue of that franchise that month? Let's say it's 2%, right? Then the Market Center closes its books and then we're profitable, right? That's the goal of being in business, right? Is profit. We're profitable. We then take 48% of our profits and set that aside for profit share. 48%, almost half. So of that 48% sitting over here as profit share, we then take, Keller Williams takes 2% is what I said, right? As an example, 2% of that 48%. And that's the amount of money that's available to go into profit share for that one transaction that agent had that you brought into the company. You are going to be their sponsor, quote unquote. You're the reason why they're joining Keller Williams. So you get the lion's share of that amount, whatever that calculates out to be, because every month it's different, right? And that happens every time for every transaction, so long as that agent is working at Keller Williams forever and you're at Keller Williams. So when you hear some of these numbers, that's where that comes from. So literally we close our books. Both MCAs are going to close the books for June in a few days. And then Keller Williams takes almost 3 weeks to calculate out that profit share for every single transaction, sale or rental, doesn't matter, and then generates profit share and is electronically deposited into your bank account. So that's how that works. I just wanted to be clear that everyone understands how that happens. So Dan, getting back to the refer versus recruit, what does that mean?
Yeah. So one of the big differences that Steve and I have really been trying to drive home is that we don't want our agents out there trying to recruit people, right? Because recruiting is recruiting's kind of a complicated thing. I'll tell you firsthand. I've been trying to do it for 3 years. Right?
You're doing it. You're not trying. You're doing it.
Right. So it's not exactly what most people think it is. Steve and I receive a ton of training. You all think that we provide a ton of training for our office. The amount of training that Keller Williams provides for its team leaders is insane. And the amount of training that Steve and I do every week as team leaders is a lot. I'm talking about hours of training a week with our coaches, with MAPS coaching, with Keller Williams International, because recruiting isn't just having a conversation and talking about how great Keller Williams is, right? And so what we want instead is what the top profit share people are really doing isn't necessarily recruiting, but it's really just identifying people that they think would be a good fit for KW and then referring them to the local KW franchise.
Yeah.
Right. So your job as an agent, or your role in kind of building your profit share tree, right, and referring people to Keller Williams is not trying to pique their interest, or is not trying to tell them how great Keller Williams is, or how much you love it here, or how much you hate it here, whatever. You're right. Like your role isn't to tell them about your experience with Keller Williams. Your role is really just to have a great understanding of the value that Keller Williams brings to an agent's business, and then a great understanding of the agents who would be a good fit for that model. Right. I think that's a really important key. One of the biggest lessons I took from a Tony Robbins event I did earlier this year is, are you identifying your highest and best customer, right? Like, who is your best possible customer that you could possibly have? And when I had that conversation with myself about Keller Williams, it was really kind of trying to, okay, how can we identify the agents that would be a great fit for Keller Williams? Because if they're going to be a naturally great fit for Keller Williams, then they're going to naturally get a lot of value out of what we offer, right? And that's what makes them a great fit for the company. So your role in what will make you successful in referring business is understanding the value that we bring as a company, and then identifying agents who will appreciate that, right? Who will be a good fit for the company. And then the next step is really simple. It's just, hey, Steve, I just did a deal with Ronnie down in Norwalk. She does a lot of business in Westport, Norwalk, Fairfield. And I got to tell you, like, she's a rock star. I think, just based on getting to know her during this transaction, I think she would be a great fit for Keller Williams and what we do here. What would you, what do I do now?
Yep.
And that's it.
Totally. That's
the conversation. Simple. And then Steve and I will then have that conversation with you. Okay, well, we'll want to know a little bit more about how you know that agent, right? We'll want to know a little bit more about the transaction that you did, right? We'll do a little research on the agent as well, and come back to you with some questions. And then what we'll do is we'll eventually just reach out to that agent and try to get into conversation with them.
Yep. I mean, that's the most passive way of doing this, right, Dan?
Absolutely.
Just coming to your team leaders and saying, you know what, I like this agent. They were great. They were ethical. We had a great transaction. Please call them. We will do what we do. And that, quite honestly, I mean, that results in, that's a warm lead for us, if you will, right? And that is so much, you guys know the difference between a cold lead and a warm lead, right? In your businesses, that kind of a lead to Dan, Carlos, and I is so much more meaningful than just us looking through our agent rosters and calling into offices, right? It's different. It's definitely more meaningful and has more of an impact and a better chance of resulting in something happening. There is a way that you could have an active conversation with agents too. I don't know if we're going to jump into that today, but I will mention one simple script. Deb Lammerhurt talking to an agent that she just did a deal with. Mary, thanks so much for helping me close 123 Main Street. You were wonderful. My clients were jerks, whatever. You really helped keep the deal together. I really wanted to thank you. And you know what? I ran into my team leader just yesterday in the hallway in the office. I stopped into the office and I told him that you were just wonderful. And he would like to reach out to you to say thank you for the way you do business. Will you promise me to take his call? Simple. And we'll give you these scripts, guys. Real simple script, right? That's the one that you should focus on right now. Real basic, not like what Dan said about, throwing up KW on them. You don't want to do that. Oh, I love my office. It's so great, blah, blah, blah. They don't want to hear that. They really don't. And we'll get into some more active scripts in the coming weeks. But for now, that's a real basic one. We kind of call that the Mo Anderson script because that's what she was put out there for the ALCs to really help them build their downlines. And there's no reason why everybody shouldn't use that script.
Yeah. So there's essentially two paths to growing your profit share tree. And most people who grow really big profit share trees do both, tap into both strategies. The first is what we were just talking about, right? Working with active agents that you're kind of, that you're in relationship with or that you're working with. The second is working with new agents. And there's a large contingency. Some of our top 2 profit share earners in the company both built most of their profit share tree through new agents. And the way that works essentially is, and this is something that we'll get into as well, right? It's identifying new agents, and that could mean running ads on career websites like Indeed.com or running ads on Facebook, things like that, to identify people that are interested in getting into the real estate business. And then it's just a matter of following up with them, just like any other lead, right? And so there's some opportunities there because Steve and I both have systems in place to try and recruit agents who are already in like the process of getting their real estate license, right? But neither of us, but what we don't do as a company is spend money and run ads and things like that to kind of to try to recruit those newer agents. And so that's also an opportunity for you as well. I'll tell you, I just looked it up this morning. So I have 52 people in my profit share tree, right? That's 52 people that have either named me as a sponsor or named somebody that has named me as a sponsor or are in one of my 7 levels or one of my 5 levels. I haven't made it to level 6 or 7 yet. Right. But so because your profit share tree will go for 7 people deep, right? So if I named Steve as my sponsor and he names Stuart as his sponsor and Stuart names Nicole as his sponsor and Nicole names Deb as her sponsor and Deb names Tama as her sponsor, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Tama names Jennifer as her sponsor and Jennifer names Dave as her sponsor. Now, every time I have a closing, Dave DeVito is going to get a piece of the profit share generated from my closing because it works for 7 levels, right? So everybody that I just named, Steve, Stuart, Nicole, Deb, Tama, Jennifer, and Dave are all going to get paid a percentage of that profit share pool that month. Now, here's the thing. Of the 52 people that I have, I would say at least 70% of them were brand new agents. And here's one opportunity for all of you. The reason they named me as their sponsor is because they had never talked to anybody else before meeting with me. So the opportunity that you have as an agent with KW is being the point person for those new people as well, which is something that we're going to talk about, right? If you want to be one of the people that talks to new agents who are just getting their license, right, and work them through that process of getting started, that's an opportunity for you to build your profit share tree as well. So those are really the 2 main ways of doing it. Working with new agents just getting started in the business, and then also building relationships with those active agents as well.
And history has proven that 15 people in your first line, so the direct people that you refer into the company, 15 in your first line can result in $100,000 a year in profit share minimally. Who wants that? Yeah, right. That's not hard to do, guys. Honestly, it is not. And we're going to work on that with you guys. And I just want to ask a logistic question now. Dan, I'm just jumping into this. What are your guys' thoughts on meeting? Dan and I were thinking that this would be a monthly meeting. Does that, thumbs up? Does that sound like the right path for you guys? Once a month, we decide now.
Less frequent. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Does anybody want to comment? Anybody who think more frequent is better?
What will we be doing monthly? What sort of content? What would we be doing?
Yeah,
that's a great
honestly,
question.
I'm going to be honest. We're still working that out. But one thing is going to be different scripts that you could use and different ways of connecting and building those relationships with agents. And quite honestly, kind of just a mastermind too.
Yeah, I think it'll be a combination of a lot of things, Donna. Because here's the thing, everybody is going to have kind of their own goals and their own strategies, right? So I had an interesting realization today when I was preparing for the profit share party this morning for the 9 o'clock call. I learned that last month I hit $25,000 in lifetime profit share. right? I've been with Keller Williams for a little less than 4 years, for 3.5 years, right? And in that 3.5 years, now here's the thing is it started slowly. So in the first 5 months of this year, I've earned 5 times as much as I earned in the 5 months of last year. And I'm about halfway to what I earned all of last year in profit share,
That's awesome.
right? But it's 5 times more than what I earned in the first 5 months last year. So it got me thinking, like, holy crap, Dan, like 25 grand, like that's real money. What could that look like? So, all right, $6,000 so far this year. What could that look like? And I told Rick this because Rick loves hearing about these kind of things, right? But I set myself a new goal. And that goal was, I also, for those of you who also know, I also own rental properties, right? But when I took this job, I made a promise to myself that I wasn't going to let my increased income and having a stable job, you know, like with a paycheck every 2 weeks, affect my lifestyle, right? And affect what I'd spent my money on. And that I was going to live off of my base salary. Now, 100%, you know, with 100%, you know, integrity and clarity here, both Steve and my base salaries are $75,000 a year. Everything else we earn is off of bonus.
Yep.
And off of, which is kind of like living off commission. So I made that promise 3 years ago when I took this job that I was going to live off of my 75,000. That was going to be my budget for my life, right? And so I set a new goal today because I was like, if I can learn $6,000 so far this year, and what if I were to live? What if that 75,000 was no longer my salary, but my passive income? What if I was earning $75,000 a year in a combination of profit share and rental income from my apartments, right? That's the kind of thinking we want everybody who participates in this club to be doing, right? What is your goal for your profit share? How much do you want to be earning? What is the purpose of those funds as well? A lot of people use their profit share to establish retirement, right? They want to create an X amount. They want to create X amount of income so that they know that money's coming in, or they're going to put all of that money aside for investing purposes, or they want to make enough money to pay for their cap, right? So that all of their commissions are essentially at 100%, right? Because their profit share they earn enough in profit share to pay for their cap. We call that the 100% club. If you're earning at least your cap in profit share, then you're part of our 100% club, because that means that you're earning 100% of your commissions all the time, right? So we want you to kind of think about what your goal is going to be. And it can be a big goal. I love big goals, right? We all love big goals here, right? Think bigger. But then the next question becomes, okay, what does that path look like to get to that goal? Right. So I think, Donna, like that was a long answer. That was a really long answer to your question. But it's all going to depend on what your goals are.
Right.
There's some of you on here who might be newer to Keller Williams and say, listen, I didn't even know what the heck profit share was before stepping into this meeting. Right. So maybe your goal is to start your profit share tree, right? Get that first person in, and that maybe we make that the goal. Ronnie, you have a question?
I'm just curious. I mean, obviously focusing on our franchise and local center, but if you have somebody who's in another state or something, do you still get the profit sharing?
Yeah.
Yep.
You do? Okay. Just want to make sure. I thought so, but I wasn't too sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, we read off a list of names this
Mhm.
morning for
Yes.
our profit share party. What we did not list off was all the other people that are not currently in our market centers who also received profit share,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because we have people that I mean, I get calls all the time from agents in Texas, Chicago, Portland, saying, hey, I have somebody that's getting their license in Danbury that I'd like to refer to you. And guess what? When they get named, when they name a sponsor, they name that person, right? So you can create a profit share tree anywhere in the country. It doesn't have to be just locally. Now, your best opportunity will be to do things locally, right? But that doesn't, but heck, if you wanted to think really big, that's something that you could start doing as well. And and there are strategies for that as well. Jennifer Davis, you have a question?
Yeah, so I know a lot of people who have these small brokerages, like really small companies.
Mhm.
And I think they'd be perfect for Keller Williams, but their thing is they want to still own their company.
Sure.
Aren't they able to do that if they join us?
We are. And so here's the thing, Jennifer, I love that you said that, because that's a perfect example of why we don't want you recruiting, right? Because what most of you probably don't know is that Keller Williams is probably the best place for those small independent brokerages who want to maintain their branding, who want to kind of maintain their independence, but also get the support of a larger brand and get the support of the training that we offer and the technology that we have, right? And Keller Williams is one of the best fits, but we don't talk about that on a regular basis because it's not necessarily, it's not relevant for 99% of our agents, right? And it's
Yeah,
not
that's
a
a perfect-
conversation.
That's a perfect example of where you don't want to be recruiting. Dan's right.
Exactly.
And across the board with that, just to emphasize that, and because this has happened in the past, both Dan and I have been frustrated with that. When we ask for referrals, sometimes we do it from a sales rally or whatever, when everyone's together, right? And we hand out sheets and we get names back from people who attend the sales rally. Giving us a list of agents that are agents is not helping us. I mean, Dan and I can get on the MLS and do that, right?
I mean, we do that.
We do that.
I cold
We do
call
that
agents
daily.
all the
That's what we-
time.
that's what we do. But what we're looking for, and I think you guys are getting the gist. I mean, Kara's shaking her head. It's the relationship that you have. It's that connection that you have to that agent or to that small brokerage. For Jennifer, that's what's key for us guys. So, I'm going to suggest too, I'm going to put this out there now. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut out of this a little early, is your first assignment, if you want to be in this group, is, well, one thing, two actually. First is to know what your profit share goal is. What is the number of agents that you'd like to add to your downline this year? And what is that dollar amount that you think you'd like to receive from profit share this year? The second thing is, come back to us, email us with agents that you've had transactions with this year, because I know there's a whole lot of them, more than ever. Who did you have a transaction with this year that you connected with in some way, that when Dan calls them, they're going to be like, oh, right, Christine Olenek. Oh, that was such a great transaction. Christine is amazing, right? That connection is going to be there. Think about who those agents are and email us that before our next meeting, which we still need to figure out.
Another great way to think about this is think about, like, when you think about your database, right? Or when we talk about people in your database or your sphere of influence, one of the things I like to say is, like, who are the people that if you were to call them right now would take your call and be happy to hear from you, right? Now apply that same thinking to the real estate agents that you know and work with. Who are the agents that you've had great transactions with or that you keep in touch with, right? Those are the people that we want to hear about. Those are the people that we want you to tell us about. Does that make sense? As a differentiator, we don't need a list of everybody that you've done. I can literally pull up a list of every single co-op agent that has done a transaction with any of our offices at any time, and going back many, many years, right?
And we do that.
We don't need that. What'd you say, Carlos?
And we do that.
And we do that. And we make calls to those people on a regular basis anyway.
We call just like you guys, but it's easier if you meet somebody in a supermarket versus somebody saying, hey, I want to introduce you to my friend Rob. Those are two way different things. One is probably going to get the police called on you, right? One is probably going to get you a date. So we want the second one.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, out of all the cappers that we've hired, all the active agents that we've hired, I could tell you that out of all the cappers that I've personally hired, right, whether they were people that we hired here in the Ridgefield Market Center or people that I referred down to Steve, I could probably count maybe 10% of them or less that were cold calls. right? When it comes to active agents, it's all about relationship. They're almost always referrals.
Another little tip for you guys, write this down. On Facebook, Profit Share Mastermind group. Find it and join that group. It's an Aaron Kaufman. Aaron Kaufman is one of the top profit share earners in this company. He started that group. It's really informative. There's always interesting tips and things, and agents are sharing scripts and things and circumstances. So be a member of that as well. Guys, I've got to cut out. I got an appointment.
All right, so I'm going to wrap this up anyway, Steve. Okay.
I just want to mention something before we close. I got my first $430 profit share this week, and it was on Saturday morning, and I was like, what? I think they made a mistake. And then I looked at Wells Fargo and it said Keller Williams, and I was like, and I text Steve at like 8 in the morning. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I got $430. Number one. Number two, I was actually recruited by Brett. What's his name? Brent Mitchell from Texas.
Yeah.
I was on my way to another company, and a guy from Texas said, hey, if I can get you an appointment on Wednesday instead of you meeting with that other company on Friday, would you go? And look at us.
Yeah, Brent's actually referred a number of people to the Ridgeville Market Center as well. He's one of those people that does it all over the country, right?
He makes a killing.
Love it.
Dan, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
If I may jump in.
What's
Do
going
you
on,
guys
buddy?
have any scripts for agents or transactions that we completed even a few years back, but we just haven't kept in touch with those agents? Do you have
Yeah,
any scripts in
yes.
place?
The simple answer is yes. And here's what it is. It's just like if you have a client that you haven't kept in touch with, right? Because this is all about relationship, right? It's all about, so it could be as simple as, hey, Rasheed, listen, you're one of those people for me, right? Like you and I've known you for years now, right? And yet we haven't talked very much, right? So it'd be like, hey, Rasheed, it's Dan Raposo. It's been a long time since we connected. I just wanted to kind of check in with you, see how everything's going. Remember we did that deal at 123 Main Street? Like what a nightmare that was, remember? How are things going for you in this market, right? It's just kind of reconnecting with people. Like that's really as simple as it can be, right? It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be convoluted. It doesn't have to be salesy. It doesn't have to be about Keller Williams. It doesn't have to be about anything. Where you're going to get the most traction is just learning a little bit about something about their business, right? And just asking the question, how are things going? How's your business? Right? They're going to say something that's going to kind of put you down another path. And that's what we're going to kind of help work with all of you on from a script standpoint. The first question is almost always the same. How's your business doing? How are you doing? Right? The gold is in the follow-up questions that you ask after that. Right? Because that's where you can get a little bit of ammunition for Steve and I and Carlos and I. Right? To kind of create because everything about recruiting is about creating a gap and then filling that gap, right? That's sales 101, right? What value are you bringing to the table? What value can you provide to the person that you're working with? Make sense?
Got it.
So that's part of what we're going to be working on. Donna, did you have a question? I see your hand raised.
I don't have a question. I do have a comment though.
Sure.
So we've been talking about what goes on in the 8 a.m. call, the nationwide Keller Williams call. This is one of the things that we do almost on a regular basis. We talk about getting in relationship with the co-broke, offering guidance, offering assistance, offering access to what we do in training. I mean, it's just on and on and on. It just becomes a natural extension of working side by side with someone to get the transaction to the goalpost. So if anybody wants information on that 8 a.m. call, just text me. You should really be there. It's amazing.
Yeah, you brought up a great point. How many people on this call, show of hands, participate in our agent masterminds, either our all agent masterminds, our capper masterminds, Rainmaker, whatever, right? All right, so about half. I'm seeing about half of the people. How many people attend at least one training a week, would you say? Okay. How many people have had a problem finding listings this year? And dealing with the listing inventory this year, right? All right. How many people have attended all of the trainings, like the many, like how many people have attended more than 2 or 3 trainings on finding more listings or leveraging your listings for more business, or right? Now, let me ask, do you think that there are other agents that you're working with that are also struggling with the low listing inventory this year? Do you think that there are agents that are getting training from their brokerage on how to leverage their current listings or to find new listings? How many people think that other brokerages are doing a ton of that the way we are? Okay, final question. That there was like no hands up there. How many people do you think that you've worked with in the past year would find value in some of those classes that we've had over the past couple months around leveraging your listings, finding new listing inventory, things like that, right?
All of them.
Right?
Mhm.
Now, how many of you invited any of those agents to join us for any of those trainings?
Me?
Donna and Donna and Donna, right? That's an opportunity for you, right?
Yep.
That's part of the value proposition. And here's the other thing. So I mentioned finding your ideal customer, right? What do you all think is the biggest value that Keller Williams provides to its agents? Feel free to unmute yourself. I'll call you out as you do. What do you think is the best value? Like what is the best value that you get from Keller Williams? Stuart.
Training and support.
Okay. Deb.
All the education. I was speaking to an agent about the PPP program that Rick ran us all through, and I actually benefited from it. And she was like, oh, can I still do that? No one ever told me about that. So yeah, there's lots there.
Yeah. Jennifer, love that.
Yeah, so for me, it's so even when I was here a long time ago in Keller Williams, it was the training for me, the education. And now it's that we meet every morning at 9 o'clock. I guess you call that support. It keeps us moving forward.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a lot of agencies that are doing this.
Yeah. All right. Katie.
I was going to say, and I think it's a training, it's the Ignite, and then it's the command and learning, having the courses offered to make that such a useful tool is I mean, beneficial just coming into it in general. So it's been huge.
Love it. Donna.
So for me, it's 2. It's understanding that this is a business that can have predictable results. And also the fact that we do get to spend time in mastermind with this quality of agent, not only here in Connecticut, but all throughout the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Massively powerful.
Sure. Matthew.
So I'm relatively new, it's literally several weeks, but the reason my team and I came over was the economics, to be honest with you.
The economics is a big one too. Yep.
The cap is amazing if you're doing more than 5 million in sales.
Love it. Anybody else? All right. So based on what everything you said, do you think somebody who's learning based would be a really good fit for Keller Williams? Somebody who values education, somebody who values the idea that life is about learning and growing and getting better. Does that sound about right? Does that sound like our ideal customer at Keller Williams? Awesome. Now, I think there's one piece that makes an ideal recruit. One additional piece that makes an ideal recruit. Somebody who's looking to grow. Because if somebody's not looking to grow or do better than what they've been doing, they're not going to have any need to make any kind of change. They're not going to have any need to continue looking to grow, right? Or they're not going to have a need for education, right? And right there is the key to Keller Williams. Those are the people who get the most value out of what we offer at Keller Williams. So if we can help, if now you just identified a few things that were powerful for you in your business, the question is as you're doing business, as you're meeting other agents, and maybe it's not, for those of you who aren't doing a ton of business, it doesn't have to be about doing business, right? You could call up a top. All right, we have some top agents on this call, right? How many people would respond positively if I were to call, I'm gonna pick you out, Len, and you, because this has probably happened to you because you're a really nice guy. Have you ever gotten a call from an agent who has just said, "Hey, Len, listen, you do a ton of business. I'd love to take you out for coffee and just learn more about like how you've built and how you've done what you've done." Has that ever happened to you?
No,
Really?
no.
That's shocking.
I've had a few, I've had that happen a few times. Yeah.
Okay, and let me ask, did you say yes to those requests?
Yeah, most times, absolutely.
Yeah.
No reason not to. And it doesn't matter if it's inside Keller Williams or outside Keller Williams. I like helping everybody. Yeah.
So here's what happens when I make a call to a really good agent and say, "Hey, listen, Deb, you do a ton of business. I've heard great things about you from the agents in my office. I'd love to grab a coffee or grab lunch, or I'd love to get together for 20 minutes, half an hour, and just learn more about your business and get to know you a little bit more." Now, when I make that call as a team leader, what's the number one response that I get? Any ideas?
I'm not changing.
I'm not changing. I'm not looking to make a change in my brokerage, right? I don't want to be recruited, right? However, what did Len just say? If that request is coming from another agent, especially here's the trick, guys. If you're a newer agent, right? A lot of you on here are not Len Schwartz's, right? And a lot of you aren't necessarily doing a ton of transactions. And so a lot of people who aren't doing a ton of transactions say, "Well, Dan, I don't have a lot of co-ops. I'm not working with a lot of agents all the time." Say, "Well, you have just as much of an opportunity because you can turn around and have those conversations with those agents, just come at it from a different perspective," right? Because again, what is it about? It's about building relationships. All right, so homework for the first day. This is how we're going to start weeding out the group and finding the people who are really interested in doing this. I want everybody to think about and then email me. All right. If you don't know my email, it's just my name, danraposo@kw.com. All right. I'd like for you to think about kind of two things. The first is, what is your goal with profit share? What are you looking to accomplish? All right. It can be financial. It can be a little bit more idealistic, if you want to call it that. Like, you want to be able to live off your passive income. You want to save for retirement, right? Whatever it is. I want you to come up with a goal for why you're here, right? Let's come up with your why. Why are you here? What are you looking to accomplish? All right. The next thing that I want you to think about is, based on who you are, based on the type of business that you do, based off of the level of production that you're at, and then also based on your goals, right? What do you think you can contribute from a time standpoint? What do you think what ideas do you have for things that you can do, right? I just want you to we're going to open it up. I know, like, listen, Steve and I and Carlos and I are going to teach a lot of the things like that we talked about, the scripts, the system, how you can kind of systematize this a little bit more. All right. But I want you all to kind of open your minds up a little bit and think about this, and then send some ideas over. All right. For what you think, like ways you think you can accomplish those goals, or ways you think, or challenges that you might have. It could be challenges as well, right, to doing this. But really think about how much time you could commit to this as well. All right. So the first question is, what is your goal? Why are you here? What is the if this is something that you want to participate in, why? Right? What are you looking to accomplish? The second question is, okay, what ideas do you have or what challenges do you think you'll have to accomplishing that goal? All right.
So are those two separate things?
Those are two separate things.
And challenges.
Well, I put them together just because some people might have no idea of what they're going to do. And so that might be the challenge, right?
Okay.
They might have a better idea of what their challenges are going to be.
I'm good.
More so than the ideas that they have, right? And then there are some more experienced people on here. There are people on here that already have profit share trees, that are already receiving passive income, that might have some ideas of what they could do to continue growing. So I wanted to make it easy, that second question easy for everybody. All right.
Dan, May I make a
Yes.
suggestion? Maybe these next couple of weeks, we meet more often than once a month, just to get it kind of
Sure.
started.
That's a good idea. I like that. We'll talk to Steve and maybe we'll do like, we'll get together maybe either once a week or every 2 weeks, something like that, to kind of get the ball rolling. All right, thanks.
The other
Zach.
thing to keep us connected is maybe like a base camp or some kind of a private group to, on the fly, as things work or don't work, we could just post it so people can.
It's a
look
great
at it.
idea too. I love that. All right, I'm just taking some notes here. All right, awesome. All right, so Steve and I will get back to you as far as the schedule, but send over those, send over your answers to those 2 questions to me. I just put my email in the chat in case you missed it again. It's just my name, Dan Raposo @kw.com. No dashes, dots, spaces, anything like that. All right. Any questions, concerns, confusion?
Yeah, I want, Dan, I know you mentioned that the downline can be eligible to any agent in the country, but for the purposes of this exercise, we just care about the ones in our market, right?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so if I know
If
agents.
your goal is to build a big profit share tree, or if
Okay.
your goal is to say, listen, like, I don't know a ton of agents in this area, or I don't really care where the agents are from. Like, I just want a system that's going to grow me grow a big profit share tree. We can talk about that too, right? Like, that's why I was saying, Donna, like, before, when Donna asked the question, like, what are we going to be doing? Well, it could be a little bit different for everybody, right? Because it's going to depend on your goals. As a group, we're going to be doing kind of group activities that kind of help the whole group, talking about scripts, things like that. Talking about, you know, the opportunities that you have and the areas of opportunity that you have for, you know, for where to find people, things like that, how to find people, what those conversations look like, stuff like that. I will tell you this though. I don't think that there's been a better time to build your profit share tree at Keller Williams than right now. And the main reason for that is because we're growing. Our market centers just expanded into 2 new territories. We just expanded into Newtown in northern Fairfield County, and we just expanded into Westport in southern Fairfield County. And guess what? The people who start growing their profit share trees in those 2 locations right now are going to have the opportunity to grow big profit share trees in the long run there. There's a reason why our founders earn the most profit share every month. It's because they were the people who brought in the original people who then brought in who brought in more people, right? Profit share is a long-term plan, is a long-term goal, right? You know, they have a saying, the reason why Steve said before, if you want to build a 6-figure profit share business, get 15 people in your first line. What he didn't say is the next step is to help them get 15 people in their first line. Because if you build it wide at the top, those people at the top on your first line will help you build it deep. And we have a big opportunity in Westport and Newtown, and we have a big opportunity everywhere, don't get me wrong, but especially in those 2 locations, because they are new territories for us, to add a few people. If you could help add a few people in those new areas that then become the catalysts for growing those areas, you can grow a really deep and wide profit share tree really easily with only a couple people. Make sense?
Yeah, I have a question, Dan.
Sure.
It's a little weird. All right, it's a stupid question. Should I put the profit share? I mean, not the profit share. You know, the career night.
Yeah.
I mean, all right. Do most people put that on their real estate Facebook page or on their personal page, or both?
You can do it both.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I have many more friends.
If you're doing it on your real estate page, who are you going to be? Who are you most likely to connect with? Right. People who follow, like past clients, you know, other real estate agents, whoever's following that page. If you do it on your personal page, who are you going to be more likely to connect with? People that you have personal relationships with. Can both be opportunities for you to find people interested in getting into real estate? Absolutely.
Yes.
Right.
Dan, I have a question. When
Sure.
you, if you're referring someone outside of the market, so do you call the team leader in that market, or how does that work?
Yeah. So
Okay.
the easiest way of doing that, honestly, I'm going to shoot myself in the foot here. What most people do is they call me and they say,
Okay.
"Hey, Dan, I have somebody
That's what I'm
for,
saying.
I
Right.
have somebody for, whatever, Tampa, Florida, looking to get their license down there. Who should I talk to?" And then here's what I do, which is what you could all do as well. I go into Command and I
Look
go
at
to the
the-
referral network and I
Okay.
go to the map and I find the market center in
Market
that
center.
area.
Okay.
Right? When you can look up the market centers in the area.
Yeah, I know how to do that. Yeah. Mhm.
And then all I do is I call that market center
Team
and I
leader.
say, "Hey, I'm introduce myself. I ask for the team leader and the contact. I say I have a referral."
Okay.
for you."
I wasn't too sure if
It's that simple.
somebody from this market center referring someone to the other has any credit, like if you get any credit for doing that or not really.
Yeah, you should. You'll get credit.
No,
for-
no, I
by
meant
being
you
named as a
personal. I meant
sponsor.
you, I meant you.
Oh, me
or Rick
personally? No, not at
personally.
all.
No,
No,
okay.
no.
Okay, I don't know if they,
No.
okay.
No.
I just want to make sure if I went that route, that you're not, whatever.
Oh, no, absolutely. Listen, I would much rather prefer you all go on your referral networks and help
Right.
and find the agents or the team leader of the market centers, right? Saves me
Okay.
the 5-10 minutes.
Okay,
All right.
sounds good.
Yeah, no, there's no bonus or incentive for me to help our agents refer people to other market centers. I'm more than happy to do it though, because I want to help you build that profit share tree. All right. All right. Was this helpful? How many people are interested
Very
in at
helpful.
least taking the next step? All right. I'll take it. All right. Thank you, everybody. Again, the email is danraposo@kw.com. Don't forget the 2 questions. And I'll talk to Steve and Carlos about getting a time together for next week to follow up with everybody. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan. Bye, everybody.